There we go, that should now work. Was very, apparently not as prepared as I thought I was for this stream. Let's get this set up as well. You can go over there, and where's my browser? Pop the text out. Okay, now I can see chat, hopefully. My word. What an awkward start. Okay, I think we're good to go. Let's get rid of that view because that is delayed and I don't like looking at myself from 5 seconds ago. Next, just need to bring over raster over and warp. Okay, hi. Okay, so I think I'm good now. So last stream, I was absolutely melting. It is currently 26 in my room, and we'll see how that goes. It's still quite warm, and I am definitely sweating a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. It is a lot less hot than it was last time. Last time we were trying to get reactivity working inside of Dioxus, and I failed at that. And what's very frustrating is that I knew going into the stream the best way to do, like I knew what it would be. I knew what the answer to this would be, and I just never got around to it in the stream, but it does now work. So let me just quickly bring this back up again. There's a few things to show, so move that over to that screen, push the button. Okay, so the stream is, in case anyone is new here, the stream is we are building a job tracker so that people who are looking for jobs at this time of a lot of people having to look for jobs, it should be a little bit easier to use than like a spreadsheet and a bunch of Google Docs or something like that. I will like say up front that like I do plan on trying to generate a little bit of income via this, although the app itself will be given away for free. So if people do want to help out and stuff, like do be aware that I will eventually try to charge money for this, sort of. We'll come on to that probably later in the series, but yes, just be aware of that. Anyway, the problem that we had was that I had in the last stream, we added values. The concept here being that companies like to have values to tell you what sort of a company they are. This can be very telling in some cases with companies being like, you know, we just believe in generating profit, and if you aren't generating profit, you're a problem, with other companies being like, actually, we think that people are more valuable than profit, and if we help people, then the profit will come. Definitely seen both ends of that extreme. So it's really important when you're interviewing with companies to make sure that you reference those values while you're talking to them to show that you match up to their values. Obviously, it's also very helpful to know whether or not, you know, you do ahead of time. So we added a section onto company details. So when you click onto a company, you can see the details for the company. You've got the flags down here so that you can write up good things and bad things that happened when you were interviewing with them with red and green flags. And then the values was the thing that we were trying to add last time. And the problem that we hit was basically when you edited them, this has been edited. It didn't change, but now, oh my goodness, now it still doesn't work. Did I forget to pull? That is entirely possible. Okay, let's just go look at the code. So I'll tell you what I found was the problem. The issue was that the storable objects were not... So the way that Dioxus tries to work out whether or something needs to be re-rendered is if the value of that thing has changed, which makes perfect sense. Now, in Rust, we don't really do equality, we do equivalence. And when I started designing the storage aspect of the application, I considered two things to be equivalent if they had the same ID. They're not identical. They're not strictly equivalent. They are partially equivalent if they've got the same ID. However, because when we edit things, the ID stays the same. Just want to... Oh, hang on a minute. Did it actually work? This has been edited. I think it might just change position, did it? This has been edited. Okay, it does work. Okay. Whew. Embarrassing myself immediately at the beginning of the stream. So the solution to this, let me check my notes as well. Where are we? What we did last time. So values in the UI. That was the main thing that we focused on, was just getting them in here. but they weren't being reactive, which was the entire point of the last stream. And the issue was basically that I had these sort of partial EQ. Let me load up Opera a second. I only use it for streams, so and then I can show you the actual change. But I basically had this will be it. This is, I think, now merged. It's probably just got a cached version there, or it is still open. That's fine. We'll work it out. Each storable had its own implementation of partial EQ. Am I looking at the wrong thing? What is going on here? Hang on a second. Maybe it was looking at an older version. Partially EQ, here we go. Sorry, this is what I was looking at. So in my world, if it's got the same ID, it should be equivalent. And that's important for the actual storage aspect, because it depends on, for example, I might want to check whether something is being inserted or replaced in storage. And so I was considering them to be equivalent if they have the same ID, but that's not the right thing to do. So instead, I just moved to having basically everything be exactly the same. So as long as all these values are the same, then they're both partially equivalent and strictly equivalent, and that's fine. And that basically means that now Dioxus can tell, is Dioxus 0.7 out? Wait. Ooh, thank you for the notice. Okay, alarm. Dioxus. Wait, learn. It's in alpha. Okay, yeah, no, so I haven't, just because I have tried playing, it's okay. I've tried playing with, by the way, hi, okay, Alarm, and Vincent as well. I have tried playing with, I'm just like I was saying last stream, I am very happy to sort of be making changes as they release new versions, and they do routinely break, or not necessarily break, but break the API stuff as they move through different releases. So 0.4 had static site generation. 0.5 got rid of static site generation, which was a major bummer for me because I basically use it for all of my websites exactly that way. 0.6 brought it back in with some excellent tricks that basically make it work perfectly for GitHub pages, which is where all of my web pages are actually hosted. And I think there is definitely some awesome stuff coming. There's someone who drops into the stream every so often, Evan, I think maybe is like a contributor to the project and keeps recommending things to me that are on main. I haven't moved over to them yet, but it's nice to know that they're coming. Let's go over to the GitHub page as suggested. Showcase their first-party primitive components. Primitive components. Oh, by the way, I will absolutely give them this. The documentation is very good, even if I'm not. Oh, hey, Evan. Join the dark side, switch to alpha. This is also funny. So another friend of the channel, 891, keeps trying to push me onto Helix on the main branch rather than just using the currently released version. I'm very tempted, but I'm also just trying to keep my life just a little bit simpler at the moment. I don't know, to answer Vincent's question, I don't know what the plans for stabilization are. I'm just very excited. I'm just really enjoying using it, and I don't know what the actual things are. This isn't really me trying to advertise using Dioxus, although you should definitely give it a go. It's a lot of fun. It's more sort of just, it's just a reflection of me really enjoying it, me wanting to learn how to do desktop application development, which this can do. I've used some other Rust UI stuff now, and I still feel like of the things that I've used, Dioxus is significantly best positioned for sort of cross-platform application development. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing where they go with this. Although I will say, no criticism, but Rust as a ecosystem definitely really has a lot of trouble getting to 1.0 releases. I'm like definitely guilty of this myself, and I've used other things with, like, as I mentioned earlier, like I've used other UI frameworks, and I was using one where documentation, like someone had basically given me something to look at. It was using 0.13 of this particular framework. The documentation was all for 0.14, and all the tutorials that people had written for it were all for 0.12, which really left me in a difficult state because they changed the API so much between those three different versions. Luckily, Dioxus has really managed to avoid that, with only really like the larger stuff changing, to the best of my knowledge anyway. I mean, I'm not probably skilled enough at this to really notice any big changes, as we've probably discovered throughout this series. But yeah, I don't know what the plans for stabilization are, but I just am very much enjoying using it, and everyone should give it a go, but just maybe not for like commercial products right now, which arguably I've just told you all is kind of what this is. But anyway, so Vincent's using Slint at the moment, but still open for whatever. I haven't tried out Slint. Let's have a look. Slint Rust. Declarative GUI design. Let's have a look. Ooh, Figma to Slint. I mean, yeah, anything with a live preview is immediately excellent. Yeah, this looks nice. I think probably for me personally, I think this would probably be too appy. Like, and again, absolutely not a criticism here. I think probably if you are an app developer, this makes a lot of sense, because I'm by trade, or like for the last 15 years, have been a professional web developer. I was going to like add more years to that because I was doing web development before I was a professional web developer as well. This does look quite nice though. It looks simple to get something nice looking, although obviously, you know, that's going to show that off. But yeah, that's cool. Anyway, where were we with this? So reactivity does now work, which is why I was laughing at, does it? Where did we see that? Pricing, oh, it does. It's interesting. I feel like the entire world runs on open source software, and people deserve to have money for their contributions. Especially if you are like, you know, making a business, but we've really not worked out a good way of doing it. And I think, I don't know if any of you guys were around for Heartbleed, when that was a issue that basically OpenSSH had a memory overflow issue in it, where you could read back the contents of the memory of a remote machine in order to basically, it's just like this really, really silly little mistake. But OpenSSH is a project that's used by like 70% of the world's communications. This was even at the time. And they were getting $8,000 of donations per year. And the mistake slipped in a commit that was done at like gone 11 p.m. on New Year's Eve, which is like, that shouldn't be happening, right? Like if we've got something that, you know, the entire financial system depends on, then absolutely we should be funding that, but it really wasn't happening at the time. That said, since then, obviously, I don't know if Dioxus has it on it, but a lot of projects actually, yeah, here we go. So you can now sponsor projects, and maybe that's what I should be doing for Dioxus as well. But sorry, I'll move that up a bit so my face is covering it less. So now on GitHub in particular, we've got sort of the ability to try and help more open source projects, which is good. I don't know how well it works, and certainly they are overfunded for the quality of work that they're delivering. Anyway, this is getting very philosophical. So what I've been doing since getting the values to work is that there are still 2 more things that we need to add. Let's cover this off. Why does that not work? RX, there we go, weird. So the 2 new other things that are sort of like features that haven't been added yet are that questions for you to ask a company. So if you're interviewing with someone, you ought to be going into an interview with questions for them, and you will definitely be marked down if you don't have that. So that's always worth having like before each interview. Now, one thing is that I have assigned this to roles rather than to individual interviews. So hierarchically, you have a company which has roles, and then the roles have interviews, but the roles also have questions. Did I put them on roles? Now I can't remember. It will tell me in here actually. So yeah, they're assigned to roles, not to companies. But I also thought like you might want to re-ask the same question, refer back to an answer that you'd had before. So that's how that will go. So we've got name is technically the question, and answer will be the answer that you get back from people once you've got it. Interviews, a bit more complex. So we've got the sort of the name, the notes that you write. I wanted to put in a vector of hosts so you can talk to them, or like write down who you're going to be chatting to in an interview ahead of time, maybe stalk them on LinkedIn or whatever you need to do. I have definitely done that with interviews before. Oh yes, you used to work with X. I used to work with X too, weren't they brilliant, is always a good opener. So let's see. So what I've been doing subsequently, or trying to get done this morning because I didn't think it would make as good sort of entertainment for a stream, is just make the interview and questions page pop up. So in the UI, let's bring up the actual app as well. So we have basically we've got like a top nav up here. We've got companies and roles. This sort of whole section is like the home view, and then this bit, the company details, role details, interview details, and questions. That nav, the stuff underneath, is all part of the details view, I think. He says not actually as sure as he was a second ago. So let's see. I've been trying to add this in. So we've got, it needs to be routable, which is dealt with in this sort of details view, sort of subrouting enum. I'm not happy with this, but I'll come on to why later. That's just changed because basically when you click on interview, you might not have an interview selected initially. So I'm just not worrying about that too much at the moment. Although I haven't actually quite decided how we're going to represent this. Let's see if this comes up with the right thing, or am I gonna have to? Okay, cool. So we've got like this interview details. Yeah, I think this is probably how it's going to be. So we'll have an add interviews button that you can then like, it will create tabs in this view. We might start with the questions one because that's a little bit easier to deal with. So adding all of this in so that we get the routes so that you can see the interview route. This is why this isn't working. Interview ID, colon, question mark, gosh. There we go. So in Dioxus, this is how we create a dynamic route. And again, I know since Evan is here, he'll probably remind me that this is being updated in the latest version. But we actually have like a home thing, but we can't sort of do optional bits of the route. So what we came to in a previous stream was basically having mini views that are sort of up here. Hang on, how do I do that? It's fine. Basically, these will open up into these like mini things. So we've got home company, home role, and it basically just takes the must-have values in here and passes them through to home where they might be optional. I'm not confident with this way of managing it, but it seems fine. I have subsequently added in the interview section. So this works like anything else. If interview is set, then it will load up the interview. So because the ID comes from the route, if we have a ID then visible in the home thing, it'll basically load up the, where are we? Context role. This is not correct. This is not correct. Interview. Talk about this in a second as well. But if the interview ID has changed, then we will store the new interview by getting it out of the out of storage. Have I done that right? Yeah, store.recall by ID. So this gives us the interview, this sets the interview. The context has also been updated. If I go to application context, you'll see I've, well, I mean, you probably won't remember any of this, and that's absolutely fine. I've added in an interview. I've added in steps for making sure that, for example, when you set the role, the interview should become unset. Company, I think, just unsets everything when you set the company. If you unset company or unset role, then it will unset everything. Let me just double check. Set company. Yeah, so set company removes interview and role. Set role, it removes the interview. And set interview just has some checks to make sure that the interview that you're currently looking at is valid. So you will need to have a company set, you'll need to have a role set, and the role ID of the interview needs to match the role ID of the company. Right. With the problem bit, I don't know what's gone on here. I've been trying to use make, so I've got a little make script that runs, here we go. Respawn not implemented for root. What did I do? I've probably done something funny over here. Or here. Did I accidentally type something? This was working just a few seconds ago, so I've probably... Here we go. Root help is not implemented. Main nav. Root help is not implemented. Home. Interesting. And so, yeah, if you're new to the stream, this is a lot of it. It's just me making mistakes and not knowing what I've done wrong. Support is not implemented. I think I've probably messed up something on rootable itself to make it not rootable, since all of these relate to that. It's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be like a first error that just is the error that we care about, and then everything else doesn't matter. Let's just make sure. So what did I change over here just a moment ago? I think I just changed this, right? Let's just drop this out for a second. Yeah, okay, so something about what I just did here didn't work. That's the same wording, home interview. Have I made a mistake with, what was this pointing at? This is the enum itself. I think another issue is I have bounced around a lot with this. And forget how they work. So I'll do, you know, routing like 1 week, then come back to it a little bit later and just have no idea what I was doing with it. Details view, I wonder if it's this could be related. So, oh, yeah, okay. That explains my other problem. Sorry. So this explains why I can't get from interview into... Okay, let's just drop all of this. I don't think this actually will work. We'll just go with interview. That's just the view. This is going to cause problems everywhere. You're still upset. Okay, let's do a quick build. I think the build itself will be enough to see where the problem is, and then we can just go back up to the top and see what went wrong. Here we go. So, could not find a field with role ID. That's odd. Oh, could that be it? Certainly better. Okay, yep, I think that worked. I think that was all the issue that there was. Route to view. So I made a little, yeah, this will work as well. So I made a little closure to help me. Means you're human. Good, always good to see. I mean, these days, yeah. Let's agree that there is probably not enough humans on YouTube anymore. I made this little closure to simplify creating the routes to get to places, because sometimes different things will be available and sometimes they won't. So you may or may not have selected the interview, but you might want to go to the role page. So hey, 891, you might want, so this just sort of like puts all of the sort of complexity of working out what the ID values themselves are in order to create the route, which is itself coming from a create route here, which I created a while back and have subsequently added interview onto. So that fixes those problems. So now we just need to step through, find all the places that I've made left interview as a enum that can have a value, which we don't actually want. Is that it? Nah. So role's not used, so we'll just underscore that for now. Same here. These are just basically to check. Actually, if I'm not extracting it, why don't I just do role.isSum? And same for this one as well. If I'm not extracting it, then there's no point in doing any of that. And okay, UID. I don't think we care about this either. We probably just want this to be interview. So this is the bit that turns the address back into a details view. So when it sees an address in the address bar, doesn't really exist in Dioxus, I guess, but when it sees a something in the address, okay, it will, where it's got the question mark view equals, if it's company role, question, or interview, it will move on to, it will turn it into a valid enum. I assume that I've got a toString somewhere as well. Yep. None of this is necessary. We can drop all of this, and this, and this, and this. Get rid of that. Get rid of these. Oops. Do want that though. And delete that. Okay. And with luck, there we go. Okay, cool. So now with luck, once we've selected a company and a role, we've got the role details, which we had before. It automatically jumps to role details. At some point, I'm going to have to make it show what one of these you're looking at. Although that will itself be a problem, because technically if you go onto one of these with invalid data, it technically just shows you this one. So I'll have to think about how to do that. But now that role is selected, you can move between any of these things. So questions, I've created a little view for, and interviews, I've also created a little view for, and that's now working, which it wasn't prior to the stream. So we're in a good place there. Let's just review this really quickly. So that adds my interview details, my question details. This is kind of a fix for where did company details go? Weird. Inner details view, interview details. So this is what we were just working on with like a thing that works out. Let's shrink this down for a second. So this bit basically works out which of the detail views we're looking at. I've just made like a little private component in here, which I can then drop in here. So this is less complicated, I think, than sort of all of this stuff that was going on previously. So hopefully that will work out all right. Create route. I moved create route into home because it's like create route for the home location. Maybe not the best place for it, but we can fix it later. We are doing, so this is receiving the signal to change the route, right? If it's not equal to, yeah, so you can use a signal called, where are we? I think I just called, yeah, just view signal. It must be a const somewhere to change the view. Not sure why I'm using it. There might be a reason for it. But overall, yeah, I think we're in a good place with this. So let's just quickly add this. Feeds UI. Added empty questions and interview pages. Commit push. And since this now actually works, I could just quickly rx. Yeah. Okay. No files committed because something is failing. So we've got a task for that as well. Make pre-commit. If you are working on a project, I do, oh, look at that. loads of problems. This is weirdly spaced, okay. Yeah, I was looking at that a minute ago, I think, maybe when I was not sure what was going on. So root isn't used. Not sure. Let's just do a... No, what is the button combination? Control-Alt-O? Yeah, but it still says... I don't think root should be used here. That is correct. Oh, it used to be because we were using root directly in the links, which is quite a nice touch actually. So in links like this, rather than doing two and then having a string, which is what I now have, you can pass in a specific root, the root object itself, which will deal with moving things around for you, which is probably a lot better, but that's not what I've done here. And assuming that this is okay, DX format, and do that again. There we go, great, commit and push. And push, okay. So next, the thing that I want to look at is getting those questions working. So we did this in the last stream as well with the values list, and it's basically going to be the same thing. Keeps appearing on this screen over here. So we did basically the same thing. When you've got company values here, it's just like a simple form. At some point we will fix this to make it look not terrible. I have ideations to put them in sort of like little squares and just like use either flow or table layout to sort of just put them in nice sort of like colorful little squares or something. Not sure. That's in my head, but I am not a designer, as we discussed last time. So we've got our values list. So we're probably going to want a questions list. I'm literally going to duplicate the values list. And we'll just work through. The questions really aren't very complicated and actually are sort of very similarly laid out to values. Oh, I liked this that we did last time as well. So this took out some of the more complex, we need to deal with form data and return some strings. So this is fine. In values though, description. No, I think this is going to be the same actually. Sorry, so in values you've got like a title and a description of the value, or name and description as it says here. If only I knew a design person, says 891, who is an excellent design person, and responsible for the color scheme and things in for Theo's Quest, and the much prettier version of Theo that I just could not get working. The little orange around my head right now was picked out by 891. There you go. What was I saying? So name and description, this is basically going to be very, very similar, except that, this is actually going to be borderline identical, except that we're going to be changing these to, instead of it being value, it's just going to be question, name and question, answer. I wonder if IntelliJ might complain. It's not going to complain right now because we've forgotten to include it. So value list, mod questions list, pub use questions list. Star. I am using very flat structures, which again might not be necessarily the best way of doing it, but it's the way I'm doing it. So popping back in here, we want to change a lot of this. Actually, can I... We'll rename these in a second, but I want to get this bit done. And I'm pretty sure that I can do a match value replace with question underscore. And it should do... Oh no, that was a mistake. Silly. Yeah. It's not that one, is it? It's preserve case. There we go. So replace, 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 replace. Then we're going to want to change these. So question. Questions go not on companies. Sorry, they don't go on companies, they go on roles. I would like to be using the prelude, not individual values. And I don't think I've done a create question. Oh, I've done a create question. That's nice. So this is not going to be... Oh yeah, we were going to change this as well. So name, description. This is going to get replaced with answer. I know it's name and answer rather than question and answer, but there are stupid architectural reasons why I left it like that. So let's look through these. And these are really the sort of things where I should have tests as well. I don't know if form data is constructible from anything that has form data. Okay. Huh. We'll work through that in a minute. So this is looking correct. And similar to values, I'm expecting you to have like a short title name and a longer answer when after you've asked the question, you should be getting lots of information back again. So this is going to be the same issue that I had with values, which is that I thought maybe when you create the question, the only thing that mattered would be the name, which is arguably true because most of the time you probably will be creating the question ahead of time, but I think it's okay for it to be empty. And in fact, we do have like a default value for this here. So we'll just do that, I think. Answer. Wait, what did I... Sorry, now I'm going a bit... Okay, I did call it answer. I had a sudden panic attack that I didn't call it answer. Do the same thing with our new types as well. So that should be N, that'll be A, N into string, and A into string. And then we do answer.into. So that gives us our new thing, but this will have broken my test helper. Question, answer. So my test should be fine again. Probably need to add a test for whether or not it has an answer. Maybe. It's just a value, it's not, there's no getters on it. Probably okay. Let's do a quick run of all the tests though, just to make absolutely sure, particularly on storage. Yeah. Great question. So we were going to do, this will be N, oops, D, whoop. Keep pressing the wrong buttons. How is everyone else's week, by the way? It's been a slow one for me so far. So what's nice about these sort of, so basically this exists on roll, and what's nice about this is that we can pass, by calling it on create, by calling create question on roll, we can automatically populate the question with the role that is being used to create it, which makes things a lot easier, I think. Have you got a new, I thought you were, I don't know if I should be discussing on stream, but I thought you were already working somewhere, Vincent. I suppose it's in the chat, so I won't bring up any details, but what am I doing? Question new. That's interesting. These are probably out of date, I think, because we have test helpers for these. So I don't know why I've done this. So this should be new underscore test. Oh, because of the role ID. Got it. I mean, we could do role dot. It's fine though. Answer. Are you looking for something new? Or is it just a contract for the thing you have right now? Oh yeah, that's fine. So that's value list. We want to go back to question list. Start renaming some of these things. Just the contract, okay. I hope it comes through quickly because that can be a bit fraught, I know. Oh, yeah, so this is going to be create question from question answer field and question name field. And of course, this will now be wrong all over this. So this is the, sorry, we're going into the populated question list here and attempting to change things. So we just need to change a few words. Again, I know last time we discussed the fact that I really need to do proper error handling, but this is just going to deal with that for us. Then we are basically going through and finding every time we use the word value. Oops. Every time we use it. We'll be a little quite careful when we go through this. So question. So that one's fine to change. That one's fine to change. Yep, 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 yep. I know one of them just went red. It's because we have not changed the name of the list item yet. Gosh, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen for you. I have heard of similar things, particularly when it comes to like contracting. It can be quite fraught, I guess. Oh, did you see the last two I just changed? Those actually are value. This is just complaining that we have basically the same code in a ton of different components now. So let's fix question list item. That should be answer. Next. Oops, did it again. Value. It did feel like we had like a little bit of a reprieve on sort of that kind of bad behavior, let's say, from people trying to get, like it used to happen a lot with contractors. And I think we've had a bit of a reprieve with that. This still says flag, which I think is a mistake in the other one as well. Let's go back to the other one. Value. This was also a copy pasta, so value. Oops. Whew, warm. 1 second, I'm going to have a drink, but I have no camera, so you're just going to look at my Patreons for a second. Okay, come back to the right view this time as well, so you guys don't have to yell at me that I'm not showing code. Let's see. We are getting into a better position, but we still have some mistakes in this file. Oh, sorry, where am I? Question list here. So this needs to be imported. I mean, I'd rather you just get it from super, to be honest. It's fine. And here, it should just be importable as well. And I bet, oh, it did come from super this time. So we can get rid of that. These. Question.clone. The question Oh yeah. Yep. Hi Tamham, big fan of your Rust content. Been trying to learn it for 2 years now. Me too. still going. And I think your playlist is really helping me crack the cookie. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, it was. It's designed for like not as a replacement to other tutorials and things like that. It's designed to sort of supplement those with sort of different ways of looking at things. I think I've talked a bit about this before, that where are we? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to think while I type as well. That's not right. Wait, is that right? Edit question. Sorry, I'll finish answering the question. Any tips on reading Rust code bases? My mind goes blank because it feels like there's so much noise with all the encodings. Reading other people's Rust is really hard, and I am not good enough at it myself at the moment. I think one, like, as much as I'm perhaps purporting to be an expert in Rust, I'm not really. I've been using Rust since 2017, but only professionally once, and it was on a greenfield project. So my sort of actual experience of reading other people's Rust and knowing, you know, what sort of large code bases look like is probably not great, which is why Iris is maybe a little bit sort of light touch. It's definitely... I mean, it should still give you all of the sort of like the absolute basic idiomatic core language stuff. But I think that in terms of reading other people's code bases, it's really tough. If I were going to try and do it, I'd probably look at some of the longer established stuff that's been around for a while, that people know quite well. That's a really good question, actually. I'm thinking things like ripgrep, might be worth looking at. Maybe. So we've got, I mean, this is already beyond my desire to look at. Not how that works. Okay, now we're sort of getting into it a bit. Oh, yeah, actually this is quite nice and easy to pass. And look, we've got some sensible, really nice tests in here. I mean, this is just escape things, but what else have we got? This is not as bad as I feared. So ripgrep is faster grep and easier to use grep. I think, did Ubuntu just make a grievous sin by getting rid of all of like the core Linux utils and replacing them with the Rust versions? Rust CLI. I feel like this was news recently. Maybe not. That's funny. Sorry, this is funny on the basis that 3 things turned up. We've got actual oh, sorry, reject. Actual MS-DOS editor here, and I recently did this totally separately. I think it's a hard sell, isn't it? When you're sort of like making it mandatory, getting rid of those tools means that those Linux flavors are not going to behave the same way anymore. I think it was things people didn't feel were not memory critical, but Ubuntu said using Rust was great DX, and why not? I see this is how I think we should talk to people about Rust. Is not, oh, you know, it's memory safe and it's fast and it's you know, these sorts of things. My preferred way to talk to people about Rust is that like, one, newer applications, regardless of what language they're written in, are going to hold your hand better than older applications. Like, we've moved a long way and we've learned a lot of stuff as we go along. And so I think that this whole, like, we need to replace all of the GNU tools is not about we need memory safety. A lot of it is just about these are way nicer tools that we're replacing them with. And similarly for the language itself, like don't use Rust because it's, you know, faster than JavaScript or more memory safe than C. Use it because it makes it really hard to make mistakes, and it becomes like a much nicer language to, like, it's a nicer language to use because of that, in my opinion. I really feel like, except in certain circumstances, the expensive part of application development is going to be the people. And so if you are saving them time, I actually had 2 former bosses that mentioned this. So in my first gig as working at a consultancy, my manager sort of said, like, you know, CPUs are cheaper than people. If you can read it, that's good code. If it's fast, meh. And another, while I was trying to get sign off on using GitHub Enterprise at my next role, in fact, and the especially frustrating bit was I did actually get sign off from the head of the department, and his point was basically like, you know, napkin calculation, will it save every developer like I think it was like half a minute a day or something like that, to which the answer is like trivially yes. This was overusing like just a pure Git CLI with a Git server that someone had created on a server somewhere. Using GitHub Enterprise would easily save that much money, and it's just like it is a phenomenally high expense to pay, but the reduced cost and development time easily pays for itself when you're paying less on developers. So ease of use for tools and sort of ease of use for the language, and the fact that it just prevents you from making mistakes, which means you don't have to return stuff 2 weeks later lacking the context of why a bug is happening quite as much in Rust as you do in other things. Sorry, there's a long tangent there. What on earth was I doing? Oh, other things that you should probably have a look at. Sorry. I would, yeah, maybe tutorials themselves probably aren't too bad as well, because a lot of tutorials are quite well written. Like I was saying earlier, the Dioxus documentation is really good. The other thing to look at is, since we're in here anyway, if we go into examples and probably example projects as well, you can actually just look at like the code that they have written to show off certain things. And I think that that's quite nice. And like, you can see that my code does not look like super dissimilar to this. Theirs is a lot cleaner. Let's not let's not dwell on that bit. But yeah, have a look at like this, for example. We've got like a server running the authentication stuff, I think, here. And then something that calls the server, I'm guessing, here. Wait, that's... Beg your pardon, no, that's just a library. That's just a library that it's using. And then it's spawning both things from here. So we've got like a really basic authentication system. So example projects are pretty good as well. Sorry, I'll go back to reading what you were saying. Tooling and refactoring is one of the reasons why I stick with Rust. After going from Python to Golang, I cannot use PL that doesn't take tooling too seriously. Oh, sorry, it doesn't take tooling seriously, yeah. Tooling on Rust is fantastic. Like the fact that the formatter comes out of the box and to use the same formatting as everyone else, you don't need to do anything other than install Rust, and the Rust formatter will take care of it. You can tweak formatting. You can also tweak Clippy lints as well. Clippy is fantastic. Clippy didn't used to be part of the core tools, but got added because it's just that good. I think that's probably true of a few like things that are part of the core tools now. Rust doc is literally second to none. The fact that you can write documentation in which the documentation code examples are run to prove that the code actually does what it says it does, and the fact that all of the documentation ends up looking the same for API documentation. So no one has to like, oh, I have to work out how this sort of API documenter works for this project I want to include. All that's super nice. Main problem with Rust is that I can't think it in like other PL, and the syntax just doesn't feel logical. I wish Rust had more Elixir style syntax. Yeah, I think there's someone else might have dropped off the stream by now, but there was someone else in the stream who also loves Elixir. The syntax is wordy. it's definitely, it can definitely look quite difficult to look at. I mean, like, look at this, for example. This is an example for people learning how to, sorry, I'll zoom in on this a little bit. This is an example for people learning how to write code. Did I entirely lose that? Where did it go? Where did it go? It was this. So Axum session auth, auth, turbofish, containing 3 different types, build. I mean, for a brand new person, that's going to be very like hard syntax, I think, to understand. For someone who's been doing Rust for a while, like it's less scary. Turbofish is definitely a curious one. But then at the same time, like, would you write it shorter? Like, you could do a use Axum session : star, but then someone reading the code won't know necessarily that auth writes, auth and writes aren't obviously coming from that. So I think, hi Evan, I'm worried I'm now insulting a thing. I honestly think this is the style of people writing Rust. You can make Rust look like Python. Libraries just don't lean into it. This is Rust, but more Pythonic. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I do think, yeah, that's also true. There are a lot of different ways to write Rust, and you can work your way through problems just by breaking them down further as well. So, and again, this is maybe not something that you'll learn from sort of code like this, for example. I'm not trying to work out how you would make this smaller, but you know, oftentimes you might extract certain aspects of a function into something much smaller that makes it a lot easier to read. There's obviously a lot of similarities with other languages about just sort of extracting things to make it so you don't have to understand the full context of something. So let's say the only thing we care about here is session store. I'm not 100% sure that that's true, but you could just do like let session store equal get session store and then extract these things. But again, for tutorial purposes, this isn't the way you would write it, but you might write it that way in your actual code so that someone reading it later just knows, like, this is how we get a session store. I'm not interested in that while I read through this sort of Tokyo Runtime New section, and therefore I don't have to think about it. So there is that as well. At the end of the day, though, I think it's just sort of like getting used to languages. Like, all languages are very slightly different. And just takes time sitting with them a little bit. And some languages are more different than others. Like, I'm trying to think of functional programming languages that I've previously looked at and just bounced off quite hard because it just doesn't sit the way I want it to. You would just extract that. But yeah, so in real code, in fact, actually, in real code, I have done exactly this. Not for session storage, but if we go to desktop source main, up here, we can see, like, I need to, so this is what starts the application up, and I need to put, like, build some context into the application. So the 2 things that I care about are my stores, which are basically databases, and a log fetcher, which will get logs from disk. And even just those little bits, they've been extracted out into functions. So we've got stores and log fetcher, basically run them both at the same time. But create stores and create log fetcher are these functions. Then we can go into these. So you can see, like, it's in directories, get store directory is sort of just in here. So, like, I've tried to break it down into, like, really bite-sized sections so that you don't have to bring all of the pointless stuff into context. If you don't care about the stores, if you don't care about these 2 things when you're looking at, like, how do I launch this, then there's no point in having it in this function. And that's just good practice in any programming language that has functions. Sorry. Any programming language that has functions is quite funny to me just because of the context of the episode of Iris I'm currently working on. Really looking forward to getting that done, but it is a monster. The next episode is a monster. I'm really... there's some bits where I'm just like, is this worded correctly? But overall, I'm really happy with the how this next episode has been come together. So we'll get to that. Okay, sorry. What on earth was I doing? We've still got some errors. Let's just go through those quickly. This is arc storage role, expected role. Didn't I? Oh yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, this is role. So that's role. That's role. Let's And we probably didn't bring role in. Question list for, so this is actually going to have to be role here. This is going to have to be role, oh my goodness. Anywhere else that we use company? Yep. Okay. And that's interesting. Recall per role is not in the current. Oh, that might just be the traits. That's fine. Recall by company is no longer needed, I don't think. So we can just take that one out. Role is though. Oh, wait a minute. We should be doing prelude star again. That'll save us some time. Oops. Control O. Command Alt L. Okay. Happy with it. I'm happy to help with tips if they're useful. But yeah, if you're not already joined the Discord, and then if I have like misexplained anything, or if you require further support, then I can try and help there. Okay, so the only issue is on this, I don't think we're using this yet, so that's fine. So question list is going to go into the question view. I still have an error here. Why? Not you. Is it just cached in some way? Cargo build. Normally a quick way to fix. Value list can come out. And RSX unknown field. No field description. Yeah, that's fine. It was answer. Let's go back to this one. This one will actually tell me. Oh no, okay. Let's not use make dev then, because it looks like Dioxus doesn't read. Well, why would it? So the reason I had make dev was simply that I also have tailwind. Trying to remember the name of it, which also has a build process in it. So I was trying to put everything together, but occasionally Dioxus will just stop building altogether. So then you can just press R and it will read from the command line and rebuild. But I guess it doesn't do it from make, which makes sense really. So questions, I didn't put it in anywhere, so let's sort that out. Views, details, question details, and then we want to do let role equal, it's going to need the stores first. No. I can't remember how to do this at all. Something context, not you. That's like literally the worst place to go. Company details, question details. Oh, that's interesting. Role details. Role. Yeah, maybe we just do that then. So that will save us a lot of time. Role, arc role. Again, if you're unsure as to why arc, then go check the last video. And then on usage, yep. Didn't like that. Role details, it might be because of the, because I need if role is, yeah, makes sense. It's basically the exact same thing we've got above, but oops. What happened there? Yeah, so this is what I was referring to earlier. Basically, anytime there's a problem on the details page, I'm just like, that's not going to be the right view. And then I'll just basically render out the company details instead, which will work. Question details, role, oops. It'll work, but then the URL itself will be wrong. So if I then try to, if I try to show the tabs, questions, details. Oh, Daniel, what have you done? And role is unhappy. Oh, this time we are going to need if let role equals If let some role. Yeah, this is the fun sort of syntax that can be really weird coming in from other languages as well. The if let stuff is really nice, but also takes a bit of getting used to. Do I want to change the name of that? I think I do. Questions, details. I mean, it's the details view for questions. I don't know, don't like it. Oops, whoops. Come on. There we go. So, new company, new role, questions. Didn't actually. Random question. How much do you rely on documentation versus allowing the compiler errors to guide you? Kind of depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm looking up some particular feature of an API, then I'll be looking at the documentation, trying to work out how it works a lot of the time. If I'm just like, if it's just reporting a bug in the compiler, then usually the compiler will tell me what's wrong. Although at the very beginning of the stream, we actually saw an example where it wasn't telling me, or it was telling me what was wrong, but it was also telling me like 20 other things that weren't. So occasionally it can be a little bit dicey, but yeah, it sort of depends. Like while I'm using Dioxus, I'll often refer to the Dioxus API documentation, and even like the learn Dioxus documentation. Although we haven't been doing today just because I'm doing stuff that we've already done and we can just kind of copy and paste in, which maybe isn't the best way of doing it, but wonder why. Sorry, I'm just gonna have a look at this. Role description here. I think it's going to be a list, right? Company details, I'll tell me when it... Yeah, cool, that's fine. So this is going to be the populated question list, which apparently doesn't exist anywhere. Sorry, not you. Oh, just question list. Should be populated, I think. Did I not call it that for values? This one. Okay, that's going to require some tidying up at some point, but question list, role. So that, for example, I just was able to remember the fact that I had myself put the role in up here. I know I'm passing arcs around a lot, so that one was quite easy. Fingers crossed. Obviously don't have any questions yet. I wonder how much this will actually work. Question. Actually, this is technically like, does this work is the question. And then if you can see this, it does. Submit? Oh, that can't be. I feel like, okay. I am beaming at myself a little bit just because that works really rather well, because I was setting a lot of it up beforehand to make it work really well without having to think too hard about it. So this goes back to the store all the things stream where we, okay, going back to Tamham's point on the, where are we? Sorry, I'll come to your comment in a second. Let me just very quickly load this up. So inside of here, we have these like composite stores, which are stores that can contain like every other store, which gets really meta. And this is going to be like the sort of Rust that's really hard to look at, I think, if you're new to it. So stuff like this. So we've got these sort of generic types of CF, VR, IQ, which you can see what they are supposed to be at here. We've got like them being used again in here so that I can gain access to individual stores separately. And then it gets worse because we have these sort of like crazy, I want you to implement has future store for role for this thing where the type storage is role and get storage, and then it gets sort of like even weirder in here where so long as it has these being applied to it, then any type that has those things can also have these sort of like other things. So recall by ID will work, or more importantly, in this case, just calling store.store can take any storable object. So long as we know what that object is, we can then get the correct store from here. So this is the stuff that's a little bit wild. So going back to your points, poring over Rust docs sometimes don't give straightforward answers. That is true. And then trying to read its Rust source is a headache. Reading the Rust source is really hard because there is quite a heavy reliance on things like attribute macros and other things that can kind of really obfuscate what's actually happening underneath. And a really good example that we actually went through, what did we do it in? One of the recent Iris videos, I think, had a section on why it was in the iterators video. I couldn't work out while making the video why count existed for, was it count or len? Sorry, it's the Rust iter. It's like sized iterator. Not sized iterator. That's not going to help, Daniel. Exact size iterator. There we go. So why does this not apply to inclusive ranges, but it is applied to exclusive? And so you have to go on a bit of a journey. So you've got like range here is applied on all these different types of range, but then only on these 4 range inclusives. And if we go to the actual source, it looks like this. That's a macro rules macro, which probably exists somewhere, but we don't have linking inside the source. So who knows how it's actually implemented. We could probably go and find it, but without downloading the source, that's not going to be as easy. What's slightly frustrating is, as I pointed out in that episode, this shows that there is actually a bug in this that can never be fixed. It can never be fixed for these 2 values, although arguably it can never be fixed for these 2 values on 16-bit platforms. It could be fixed for these 2 values on larger platforms, but that's a whole other thing. So yeah, sometimes reading Rust code at source is just not particularly useful. You also end up with a lot of like, what does any of this mean? I don't know. I genuinely don't know what inline means, even though I have come into the source code, read it a bunch of times, and never bothered looking it up. So yeah, it can definitely be really hard to read the source. The documentation here is usually extremely good. I mean, for example, like I think this is a well-written like explanation of what this method does. And as we were referring to earlier, we've got like this, and we can just run it right here. Well, not here, but in normal libraries, it will run right inside the documentation. You'll be able to know that it works for real because it gets run as a test. So the test will fail if that's not true. Which is really cool. So there are swings and roundabouts. Like a lot of it is really cool, but then you do hit stuff where it's just like, that's not explained very well. The good thing is though that the Rust community is always improving on this stuff. So back when I started in 2017, we didn't even have the book existed, but it definitely didn't exist in its current form. Rust doc. So if you haven't read this yet, this is a great place to start. If you don't mind, I use the online version. There is a physical version of this book, but it's already out of date. This was 2018, I think, the version of Rust that is running. That's in the book. I don't know if I've even ever looked in this book. I literally only picked it up so that the authors of the official book got some money. That's it. So the book is great, has come on leaps and bounds since 2017. I even went through a period while I was writing proc macros where the section of the book that I was reading was being updated on a daily basis as I was trying to work through my proc macros. Like I'd look at it one day, there wouldn't be an explanation of something I needed to do. Come back to it literally the next day and someone had written it up. Like that's really awesome. Yeah, see code like that would just make me black out. Yeah, the code, this code is like advanced. I would say this is pushing on the edges of my sort of abilities with Rust. Even with this, actually, there is a good example of like how I know this is pushing on the edges of my abilities. Is I think in here somewhere I've got like an apply sealed. Do I still have that? Yeah, so I've got like this sealed trait. I don't quite get it, but it basically, this is a private trait that is applied to, I think, to thread safe store somewhere. Is it not? Sealed, if I can spell it correctly. Oh yes. Of course, it's got all the generics in it as well. So I have to implement this on here. The reason being that these traits are applied to other traits that they're like auto. I don't know what the name for it is, but you can see we've got like impl base store, the base store trait for type T, where T has future store for O. And then T storage, which is a part of has future store 4, is base store O, and O has ID and clone. So this is so generic that you need to basically prevent it from being applied to other types. So that's why, although I haven't applied it to the base store implementation here, I have applied it to the has future store for O sealed, so that you can, this trait will only apply to things that are sealed, which can't be done outside of the crate that they're currently in. Gosh, that was a really complex explanation. If no one understood that, that's fine. Definitely get that. And then what did I change in here? Something's changed. That's fine. Why is something changed in here? Oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's in the test. Worried myself for a second there. Read the book and I don't struggle with the why, I just struggle with putting things together. When I read the subreddit, everyone seems to be loving it and seems simple. This is genuinely another reason for Iris existing, is that I really don't like when people say, oh, you know, it's easy, you'll just be able to get it, which maybe I've said a little bit, because I did say like you probably just need to spend some time with it. I think that everyone will get there in their own time, and just telling people it's easy will end up just frustrating them if they don't get it instantly. So it's fine to not get it for a bit. If you're like really invested in it, it will come eventually. But it's fine to not get it immediately. Don't panic about that. And certainly, as like, I think the things you've been suggesting are the right way to go. Like, read other people's code, try and work with other people. Oftentimes you might come to a repository that has like not just like help wanted on an issue, but someone might have tagged it with like it's a good beginner issue. I wonder if there's even a way of just looking those things up. There might be. I want to say like Diesel does it. Let's have a look at what people have tagged it with. Oh, that's nice though. So help wanted. Oh yeah, look, good first issue. So if you're looking to contribute to this, then looking for things that say good first issue on them, help wanted, and mentoring available are probably all good places to start. This already looks daunting to me though. Not sure what this is about. I haven't used Diesel in a few years, sorry. Sage. It is a good library though. Did they ever fix the fact that it wasn't async? That's why I stopped using it. Looks like no. It's not the end of the world that it's not async, like, doesn't really matter. But it would be nicer if it was. I think there's like some weird issue with if I remember rightly in fuzzy memory from like literally years ago when I stopped using it, there was some issue with the fact that things behind Diesel that are actually like being used to power the talking to. So this is a ORM, Object Relation Manager. Is that right? Object Relation. Oh my word. Really gone off base here, haven't I? Really off base. Object Relational Mapping. So it maps your objects in Rust back into the database for you, which is quite nice. So your SQL, you don't have to write out SQL, you can just sort of write this stuff, and it's really nice to write. And this probably still is one of the best like usable versions of this, and they are still keeping it up to date, which is good. I've been using, if anyone is interested, and I did try looking at this for this project, I'm using SQLX for most things, which is async. So is there a better documentation page for it? Maybe not. Oh. So just being able to use async code with it so that you don't have to wait. Things don't feel logical compared to PL I've used, and writing Rust makes me think I'm on the Dunning-Kruger wave. But if you feel like you don't know what's going on, doesn't that put you in a good position on the Dunning-Kruger curve? I think it's when people don't know what they're doing and think they do. That's when you're sort of like at the early stages. I think you're probably in a good position, but I don't know. But anyway, we'll carry on with this, and if it maybe just looking at it will help make more sense. So what were we doing? We just made this work, right? So if I edit this, does this also work? And is editable. Submit. Well, okay, that's that entire thing done. So let's make sure that's committed up, and then we'll go on to the next thing. So just going to double check this all makes sense. Yeah, that's part of questions. That's part of questions. Create question. Yeah. This is where it gets a little bit weird though. So we probably just want to do a quick find for value. That's fine. That's fine. Those are all fine. That's wrong. Can I change it here? I can. Cool. Same for here. Just make sure we're not using value incorrectly. Just those two places. Question list. Again, that's fine. That's just part of the form. Oops, see, that was close. Value list. Oh yeah, because we just spotted that when we were doing the other thing. Rust Rover versus VS Code is a really good question. So for my sort of actual work, I use Rust Rover. A large part of that is just because I have used IntelliJ IDEs for more than a decade, and I'm just very used to how they work. There are some slight downsides. I think that it still uses its own like internal Rust engine, whereas VS Code uses like the Rust server Rust language server. So that one's more in tune with like how it should actually work. I've also been playing with Helix, but not for Rust. Enough said of that. It really very much is just to what you find to be the most productive. That's it. Like there's no secret sauce to any of them, I don't think. RR didn't work for you, and VS Code did, but in general, RR is nice. There is actually one thing that really bugs me in Rust Rover, and they did a recent survey, and they even mentioned it in the survey. It does not work for MD Book. So I started editing all my MD Book stuff in Helix instead, rather than in VS Code, but I think it does work fine in VS Code as well. Support for VS Code is really good, so there's usually someone who's written a good plugin for VS Code if you need it. And I think, Tamham, your point there, PyCharm's really nice IDE, but ever since VS Code became more mainstream, we're just stuck on it. I think that's fine. Yeah, like that's the right thing to do. Like just use what is comfortable, what makes you productive. Like you can't really go wrong there, I don't think. Yeah. I was going to show open recent. Let's see. One moment. Okay. So if I go in here, I think any of this, these are the scripts, sorry, they won't have it in. So in here, so the Iris stuff is all in a book as well. Documentation's not going to be good. Actually, yeah, no, this is fine. Is it fine? Let's do macros. You can all have a little sneak. Oh, actually, I mean, this is already published, so it's not really much of a sneak peek. You will see that in bits of this, like it really doesn't like, for example, the Rust comma compile fail. Helix is fine with this, and we'll show this as being Rust. That's a mistake. Did I already pull on this? I think I fixed this. Oh, what branch was that? haven't used Z. Maybe at some point I need to do a video of me just trying out all the various different IDEs and deciding what I actually like. But I think at the end of the day, it's probably just going to come down to muscle memory. I am really, I don't know if I'm just very old. I'm very bad at adapting to Helix, having used Vim, not sort of for an editor, just used it a lot over the last decade and a half for editing files and servers and things like that. I'm so used to the Vim way of moving around that Helix really breaks my brain. That is also a bug. Oh, why? And a lot of this actually comes from just when you try and format. If I were to try and format this, you see Rust Rover does not like. Sorry, I probably should have explained this. So this is showing some Rust code. The hash here, basically in mdbook, will hide the thing that comes after it. It's like a comment, but this still ends up being real Rust code. If I try and format this, though, you'll see that it thinks that should go on a new line, which obviously it shouldn't. It's also giving me errors. So whenever I commit, it's like, you have 500 errors and you probably need to fix them. It's like, I don't, it's just you don't understand it. So I would love them to fix that. That's probably my only complaint with Rust Rover. But I can definitely believe that it causes problems for other people. And it is technically an early access program at the moment. Which, as mentioned in the last stream, probably I don't actually know whether I'm allowed to be showing off on a stream, but let's see how it goes. Why is this sad? Create question needs 2 things. Let's run the tests in a second. Answer. 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 Okay. Let's run the tests. It's probably going to complain about Dioxus formatting, which is fine. There we go. Cool. That's all good. So commit and push. I think we're in a reasonable place for this. Then we can do interviews. So halfway through the stream, I got the more challenging bit still to go. I'm also wondering what to do next stream. So there's a couple of things left to do, I think, before I'm happy sort of like giving this out as a beta. Once I've added interviews, technically it will have all the the features that I want, but it still needs sort of styling up a little bit. And it still needs there's some keyboard shortcuts that I put in that don't really work correctly. And again, I think Evan probably told me off for this last time. Where am I using it? There was there was a text editor that like brought in the concept of ropes for passing stuff, but it never took off, which was a bit sad. Unless it was Z. No, that doesn't look like it. One of the so whatever this editor was, the name of which I cannot remember. I think the problem with it was basically like a Dioxus is not production ready. Yeah, to answer that question really quickly, no, I would not use this in production, despite other than all the places where I have. So this is Dioxus. This is Dioxus. I think they're actually all different versions of Dioxus as well, actually. This is a different version of Dioxus. I tend to use it a lot, and but no, it is not. I would never use it for an actual. If someone was employing me to make a website, I wouldn't use it. I use it because I enjoy using it, and it's for stuff that I don't care about as much. Although, as I said earlier, I do plan on asking for money for this, so giving away for free and saying like people can donate or whatever. Sorry, this was the shortcut stuff. So Alt-C and Alt-R, for example, will flip. Where are we? So if I've got a company and a role selected, Alt-C will go back to company, Alt-R will go back to role. But it does it even if it's not currently selected. So let me just bring in, yeah, this will do. So here's my Stream Deck. If I do Alt-C while this is selected, Maybe Alt. Wait. Sorry, that's not the right button press. So you can see this changing in the background. That's not at all what should happen. Not cool. It's just that I've done it the wrong way, which we knew going into this that I'd done it the wrong way, and we just decided to leave it. So I'd like to fix this for two reasons. One is when you hold down Alt, I'd like it to show you what you can now push to get to different views and things like that. And then also just for it to not happen in the background. So yeah. So Leptos is Leptos. I really want to use it, and it looks. I believe it looks a lot like Dioxus in terms of the sort of syntax of the DSL. Let's go to the book. Basic component. Oh no, it doesn't at all. This uses. Well, that's interesting. Sorry, I was about to give them kudos. I think. I very briefly met the guy behind this at a Rust conference, or I can't remember if I met him, but he gave a talk that I was in. It was a really, really cool talk. So in the macros part of the book, the Iris book, Fear's Quest, Geomatic Rust in some steps. Can't remember the actual thing. So if we go down, I make a point about DSLs and why they're good. It's just after this, I think. Try domain-specific languages. Okay, so this is what React looks like when it's sort of desugared, and this is what it looks like when you write it. So React is a JavaScript framework for writing HTML like code and stuff. Oh, did I miss the last RustCon? I think I might have not gone to the last like the last big one. I went to Rust London because that's where I am. I think did they stop doing it internationally for the big one? They might have done. I went to a couple of them while they were international and really enjoyed myself in the Discord with a bunch of people. Sage Griffin is just like so good at just chatting to people and getting them talking about stuff. Really amazing. Anyway, sorry, going back to this. So this looks like HTML, but you're in JavaScript land, and this is what it sort of gets converted to. So this is a domain-specific language. It's not JavaScript. It looks like HTML, and it converts itself to this effectively under the hood. So what we're looking at when we're looking at, did I go over the top of oh no, sorry, it's here. So inside of this view exclamation mark, this is a macro, and inside of here we've got a DSL. So this looks like HTML, and this immediately doesn't anymore. So my criticism of Dioxus, arguably, my one big criticism of it, is just that it's going to be a harder sell to get people to write HTML like this. So that's obviously not HTML. And I think that, so there is a tool, if you've got like a long bit of complicated HTML that you're copying from somewhere else. Yes, it was, yeah, I was at the Rest Nation one, there we go. It was a great talk. I think he mentions Dioxus a couple of times as well. But I think the important part is just talking about getting to it being sort of really performant when you, I've just realizing you probably can't link it in the chat. I will try and add it to the description. Let's see. Let me see if I can get it quickly. Rust Nation. The future of web applications, right? Wait, was it that one? Yeah, it was this one. So I'm gonna link it in the chat since we're discussing it anyway. Not in the chat. Can I put it in the chat? Can I put it in the chat? There's the question. Maybe? I don't know if you can see it. So anyway, I think DSLs are important to help people sort of like move between things. So I can't even remember how I got onto this. Oh yeah, because we were looking at lepto. So my immediate thought was like, oh, this looks more HTML-esque than Dioxus does, but then it sort of doesn't anymore, sort of as soon as you start including things, which, although arguably it's only this sort of thing, that's not too bad. This is weird on click, like rather than just it being the word on click, I guess. There's probably reasons for that. But in both cases, yeah, they're not very HTML-like. So, sorry, that was a really weird rant, and I'm not not criticizing anyone's work here. I am using this one that doesn't look anything like HTML. I just think it's going to be a harder sell to people who write front ends a lot when they can just use React, which does look like HTML. Sorry. I'm gonna have another drink. I think I'm losing the plot a little bit. That's a really good point, Tamham, about Flutter also not really looking like HTML. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe I'm just like set in my ways. And obviously, that's the other thing. I'm obviously not, since I'm doing this. I don't know. Anyway, oh man, my brain is absolutely fried at the moment. So let's move on a little bit. We are going to need a couple of things in here. So we will need an we are building this on a potential interview that you're currently looking at. Do I need to do that? I don't, arguably I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this for this either. So this, okay, use your words, Daniel. What I am concerned about here is I basically have like a mixture of things where I get things from the context, which is like a background store in the, like, that just sort of exists in the application. So we can do like, let context equal use context. Now because we have multiple contexts stored, we do have to sort of like tell it that we want to store type to come back out of here. Sorry, 1 second. So, where's my brain at? From here, I could then get the role, and it will be the same role. However, there's no guarantee at this point that it is set. So I would like to only show question details if there is currently a role, which if we go back to over here, this won't build underneath anymore, but it should be fine. So I select company, and you can see like questions is not selectable at this point. Once I hit role, then it is, and then I can go to the questions because they relate to that role. Interview details are a little bit different because I will want the role. I am also going to want to load from the role, or using the role, all of the interviews associated with it, because you'll have multiple interviews for a role. Let's just get rid of this quick. Okay, sorry, I'm talking myself into doing it this way. So I don't care about that. I do need there to be a role. You don't have to have selected an interview, but we do have to have a role here. So we can get rid of this, turn this into this, get rid of the extra thing there. And then I really wish, irritation number 2 with Rust Rover, I wish when it's all like prelude, colon, anything, it would just automatically star it for me rather than like bring in individual things. This may or may not be set in the context. So that's right. Let's do exactly what I just did a second ago. Let's store equal use context, turbofish, store type, so that it knows which of the things to get. Use context. There we go. And then let's interview equal. Sorry, is that right? No, hang on a minute. I've done something wrong here. is application context. Application context. So this will be application context, sorry. We will need, you know what? We will need the store as well. So let's just go back. Okay. This sort of shows why we need to make this generic. We're just calling the same function, but we're specifically requesting a specific type back. I don't know how this works. I do have the similar like generic, you can store anything and it will work out which store to store it in. But for this specific purpose, I don't know how it works because the... Oh, this gets even weirder. Consume context. This is something I learned like just recently and possibly too late. You can basically ask for things to have static lifetimes, which doesn't necessarily mean that they themselves have to have static lifetimes. It may just mean that they don't have a reference full stop. So every part of it is owned. There's another reason why arcs are quite cool, because the arc owns the data. It's not a reference, like it is a pointer to some data, but it's not a reference to some data. And because the arc controls whether something exists or does not exist, as long as there is an arc pointing at it, that thing's guaranteed to exist. Same for reference counts, but reference counts can't be sent between like asynchronous or even, sorry, they can't be sent between threads, which you may be using if you're using an asynchronous context. Anyway, consume context is still going down. So what I'm curious about is how do we know, it's going to be something to do with this, is it? No, that's to do with tracing. That is also to do with tracing. I have no idea. No idea. Parent has context. I've gone too deep into this. Downcast reference. It's going to be this, I think. It's yes. Okay. So it's basically got some sort of iterable. Oh, it's a ref cell. That's interesting. It's got some sort of iterable storage of the things that are in the context of the application, not to be confused with my application context, but in Dioxus's application context. And then it's basically looking for something that you can see here. We've got like a type that is dyn any, and then any must have a feature on it called downcast ref that returns true or false for the type that it is. If we go into this, hopefully, not sure what is does. This is probably the bit that we care about. Type ID. This is still going very deep. No idea. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. I probably ought to know that for other things. Doesn't really matter for now. So they are storing the type ID somehow. That's interesting. I might have done it with phantom data, or maybe I would have failed to do it with phantom data. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so basically within use context, there are multiple things, and we're using the type of the thing that we want to get that specific one back. So use context will return a single thing, but it needs to know what type that thing is. So you won't be able to store two things in the context that both have the same type. Sorry, that was a very long explanation. I don't know how long I spent on that, and I don't even know if I did a very good job or if I understand it myself. So next we need the interview equals context dot get interview. Perfect. So there may or may not be an interview that you're currently looking at. That's fine. We will deal with that in an interview details section. But what we will also want is, oh, this bit breaks my brain every time. So we're going to need to ask the store for some information for interviews that relate to a particular role. The challenge with that is we need to use resource. Use resource. Yeah, perfect. What are they called? They're a resource equals use resource, and then we need the use reactive. This will be on role.id, and this basically makes it rerun this resource if role ID ever changes. Have I done that wrong? It could possibly require that to be a single thing. So let's just try that quickly. Role ID equals role.id. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. And then we will need to move as well. Is it in here? In here? Come to it in a minute. So store dot get store? No. Recall by role. And then we want the role ID. Await. Oh yeah, I need to do async over here. Async blocks, sorry, just quickly. Async blocks are another thing that slightly blows my brain. I don't understand how they work at all. Unwrapple default will be fine. So this gives us a resource containing a role, a list of roles. So then we need to create our navigation, which I'm just going to do as a private thing up here. So it's going to be interview nav. Needs to be a component. Oops. Interview nav. Interviews. Vec of interview. And it returns an element. RSX. Not going to do too much in here to begin with. We're going to do basically just like a add interview. Let's do that, plus interview. We want to drop this in here. So we've got interview. Nav, okay. Then we would like our interview resources. Sorry, it's interviews. Can't remember how I did it. So role information may do it. Does it? Nope. Role list will, I'm pretty sure. So you can see here we've got the same thing. Roles resource is a use resource with use reactive of company. Oh, I can just put the role in, of course. Just do that real quick. I can also... Oh, that's annoying. That's another one to look at. So basically I've got a trait called hasID that is implemented for role. So I could pass recall by role in here because what I need is something that has hasID. But because hasID is not implemented for arc, should I do that? I wonder if I can do that. I should do it if I can. That will simplify things quite a lot. So in storage, in storable, we have properties. In here we have a hasID. We already have like a implement for anything that has a reference for it already. Impl t hasID is actually almost identical to the one above. For arct import where, or actually, does this work? I want to implement it for let's see, dref hasID. Is that right? Wrong number of argument types. Hang on, let's just sort this out a little bit. So I need this to... Expected 0. Where? But I need it to be... Oh, I bet it's like a associated type, is it? Target. But that's probably not going to work either. Sorry, my thinking here was like, it'd be nice to be able to get ID on anything that already derefs to something that has get ID. And now it's probably going to tell me that's too generic, I think. Yeah, they've got an overlap. Oh! Oh, silly Daniel. Oh. That's weird, right? Does that work? Weird. Weird. Not going to worry about it. I am sitting here worrying about it though. Like, why bother when I can just do .id? I'll have a think about that another time. So, we've made something sad over here. Interview resource. Oh yeah, sorry, that was it. So we were looking up, make sure that file's reset back to whatever it was before. We were looking up how we did it in role list. So we get the role resource over here. Oh, .unwrap or default. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So the reason being is that this won't have finished immediately. So let's interviews equal interview resource. So this is just like, hey, at some point in the future, we might have a bunch of values. And if I'm lucky, there we go. Okay, so it just worked out all the types for us. So that's perfect. So if we go back to, is this currently not building? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It is stopped though. Let's see what happens if we restart it. Still sad. Okay. No method for interview found. For struct interview. Oh yeah, that's fine. This is not what we're currently looking at. This is where we changed it from role. So, we need to change this one as well, like we did with questions earlier. If let role, if let sum role equals role. Okay. So yeah, this is what I was thinking earlier, is that we get the store here. This is the only place we're using it, so I don't know if we necessarily need to move it or if I can just stick it in here. We're not going to be, we're not going to be using it for anything in the main body, but we will be using it for storing things later. This is probably okay. He says not entirely certain that it is. Async move because of role, which might cause problems if we do use role later. Cool. Okay, so with luck, we will have click interview details. Well, I haven't seen this in a while. This is usually down to it trying to get something from the context that it can't. Problem being that that is a wall. I'm almost certain it's something that I've done. Okay, let's do, since we are moving it anyway. You can absolutely, selected block should represent as an expression. That is, goodness sake, store, let's store equal that exact thing that was just trapped. Variable move due to using coroutine. I know that. That's why I specifically asked you to do so. So if we go back to the other component, it wasn't this one. Sorry, populator rule list. Oh no, I do that. Okay, we'll step through bit by bit, shall we? Let's start off with moving this back to what it was. Oops. But what we'll do is we'll just comment out this. Sorry. Well, yeah, let's comment. Oh gosh, don't know. I'm just struggling to type lately. I'll duplicate that last line though and just give it an empty vec and see what happens. Oops, interview details. Okay, so something else. Probably this, right? Context. So if I just comment out this and this, we're right back to where we were effectively. Oops. So something about getting the context is incorrect, which probably means I can bring this back in. Fingers crossed. Okay. Okay, so that's fine. So it's something to do with what I'm doing with the context that is incorrect. Still think that that's the right type though. Must use it here, right? Nope. I do use it in here though. Oh, yeah. So I mentioned earlier that the type in here, if that's wrong, then you end up with this massive blurry error message. And I've just forgotten that it's a signal, not the application context itself. And the reason for that is because we need to be able to update what's inside of it. This probably isn't the right way to do this. I feel like I've said this a lot this stream, but we're going to stick with it anyway. I probably said that a lot this stream as well. Anyway, signal. And then we should be able to get this here as well. Why is that? Oops. Oh yeah, because it's context. So now it's a signal. I have to call it first, and then I can call get interview. So it'll be like that. And here we go. New role. Questions. No, interview details. There we go. Okay. So next we need a way of creating the interviews. Yeah, I probably say that a lot, Vincent. Yeah. I think in I don't know what happened there. In future streams, I might try and get the chat up in the corner over here or something, so that I feel like I feel bad for not reading out everything. But I'll try and bring it up, and then people can see. I'm sure OBS probably has a plug. It definitely has a plugin for Twitch. I don't know if it has one for YouTube, but I think that would be useful, and then people can have their little bits in there, and then make my life a pain when they write something awful in there, and I have to go through and blur it out in. Post, which I will have to do on this stream anyway for something else. Never mind. Okay, so we need a way to create interviews. Now, with the with this, yeah, sorry, my brain is not working so good no more. With values, for example, if I go to value list. So this we're currently in like the view, whereas for a lot of these we've used lists. So the values list itself has a create value closure that takes a form event and then creates a value from it, using that create value from data form data function here. I really need to sort this out anyway. I don't really want to put this all into interview details, so what I might do is create an interview nav module. Not very happy with the way that I've organized the modules in this. I think this is like part of the problem of this is that I feel I should do most of the work on this on stream, but stream isn't really like the right environment for writing the best code, which is part of why I was trying to sort out some of this before the stream. Pub use interview star. Anyway, so let's do. Oh, did I just call it interview? Interview nav specifically. No, actually, let's do it in here. Mod interview nav, maybe just nav. Then we would like to do probably something similar to the question stuff where we had like the create from form data name description. In this case, it's literally just going to be a name. So it's not even going to be this complex, literally just going to be this. Maybe I don't even need it. No, let's keep it. Let's keep it. We'll keep it consistent as much as possible. Oops. So, because in this case, we are literally just going to get the name of the interview so that you can start filling in, basically at the top of the interview page. So basically under your company details, role details, interview details and questions, then there will be the interview details pane, which will have another list, another sort of like tabbed list, which you can go to interview A, which will contain these details, or interview B, which will contain these details, or there'll be a button to add an interview, which I think will just give you a form that you can write in the name of the interview. So then you'd write in interview C, and then you'd move into this page where you get the other bits. That's I think is what's going to happen. We do not care about, well, let's do const interview name field. Str interview name. This becomes interview name. This goes away. I think instead of doing the question mark here, what am I doing? Instead of doing the question mark, I'll do a map. So we'll basically, this is going to return an option, which I'm also going to return. So do fe for form value, fe.asValue. I can then drop this and this and then we get an option of a single string over here. Should be happy. Form, data, name. So now we can give it form data and extract the name. It's brutally simplistic. Should be fine. Where's my module for... Oh. Just put it in the wrong place, that's all. So the benefit of this is now this will be... I think that's the only place we're going to need it, actually. Let's see how we get on. We just made the nav, so we'll just copy that over from the details view. It's going to be very similar, almost identical. The only thing is this is going to be, so I have another element, component, called editable. And that's what this is going to be. It's going to give us, it's going to go from being like a, you can view the plus button when you click on it. Oh no, because that's going to be slightly different. Editable does this really specific thing. So if you look in the application, just keep starting on a different monitor altogether. You can see how we've got this little sort of plus. So this is not editable. If I hit, sorry, not plus, a little pen. When I hit the pen, it turns into a form. I can cancel that. I can edit it. Pending. This is, I think this might be related to the exact same problem I was having with values. I've probably not updated this correctly. Something to do soon. Gosh, I feel like this is another problem with streamers. I just end up like discovering more problems than I'm actually fixing. Where is... Currently working on this one. No, let's go down to, that's not where I want to be. Job tracker, issues, pull requests. Oh, have I mucked up here? 4 hours ago. Yeah, so I've been adding to the wrong PR. That's a bit unfortunate. Not going to worry about it. Add values, interviews, questions. I think this is another issue with streaming. I don't know. I hope this isn't a reflection of me, but I definitely feel like a couple of times on stream I've just not had the attention to detail in order to spot things like this. I think there was a point where I just accidentally committed a load of stuff directly to main at one point. It's just like, this shouldn't really happen when you're being a professional. What I wanted to do here, sorry, was quickly, actually, no, maybe I was in the right place in the first place. Job tracker, projects, job tracker. Let's just add them in as bugs over here. Fix reactivity of older storables, companies, roles, etc. Don't think it was anything else actually, but or maybe flags. No links to the stream on my CV. I am a little worried that probably people that where I've been applying to jobs, obviously Fierce Quest is the like my current role, so people might check me out via that, but they definitely probably load me up on LinkedIn, and then I always post my streams and stuff on there, so I'm sure there's probably people from companies who check in and then just go, what is this what is this guy doing? I don't know. I hope that I portray a personality of like friendliness and intrigue and like encouragement. That's kind of what I hope the entirety of Fierce Quest is supposed to be like. Anyway, reactivity is broken on older storables was fixed in this one, or maybe it is being fixed in 60. After that's merged, we can update storables. I know it's not a word. After that's merged, we can update the older ones because yeah, it's fine. Great. Another example of not being the most professional on stream is just I don't want to spend ages typing that out because it's not the most interesting. So interview, pub mod use nav. Okay, I am wearing myself out a little bit, so I think we'll probably end the stream soon-ish. So last year, well, I was already a few months into doing Theo's Quest. I think at that point it probably was still called Rust Simply. I applied for a Rust job and the recruiter gave me a really hard time from the lack of Rust on my CV. And I'm like, well, that's okay. You will be able to find tons of like people who are in crypto and stuff who have lots of, like, outside of people in crypto, there's probably not going to be a lot of people with Rust on their CV. I think that is changing, but it still kind of feels like it's the case. Also, car manufacturers now are getting a bit of Rust, which is a whole other thing. Anyway, she was like really unimpressed with me, and then like a couple of days later she came back absolutely beaming because apparently she talked to the devs about me, they'd looked me up and then got really excited about Iris, which I thought was really sweet and really funny. Like I say, my Rust experience is like a lot of it is not professional experience. I worked on one Rust professional project. It was a greenfield project, and it's my go-to story of like mistakes I've made in my career. I probably shouldn't have made that project, and here's like how we ended up making it, how we fell into this mistake, and what the mistake actually was. And the mistake wasn't so much that we used Rust; it's that not everyone on the project ended up feeling comfortable with it. So I asked when starting the project, hey, do we think this is a good use case for trying out Rust? It should be faster and more memory efficient. It quantifiably was faster and more memory efficient, but the problem was no one wanted to touch it after I built it until I've probably told this story a million times because it actually does relate to the creation of the eventual creation of Theo's Quest, because this was like nearly a decade ago. That can't be nearly a decade ago. I've only been programming since 2017. Programming Rust since 2017. This was 2018. So it was right at the start of my sort of growth with Rust anyway. Yeah, none of the other engineers working at this company wanted to touch it. Similar to what Tamham was saying earlier, it's a difficult language to approach when you're used to other things. And they just started like not feeling great about touching it. However, we did get a junior on board who immediately picked it up. They were straight out of a boot camp. They were phenomenal. Like, they were a phenomenal person, but it also encouraged me to see that maybe like a lot of the problems with Rust aren't actually the language itself. It's not I don't like describing it as a hard language. And I think we should be very careful about the way that we describe it. Like, as I was saying earlier, I don't want to say it's an easy language either. That's just going to make people frustrated when they don't instantly get it. But it's a language that if you're interested in it, you can learn it, as most things that you learn. But that is my one and only bit of sort of professional experience. The project lasted like 4 months or something, and then we barely had to touch it afterwards because you very rarely have to touch Rust after you're done with it. I think they eventually retired that project after I left, because then it was just the then mid-level engineer who was like an expert with this particular project, but I think they rightly retired it. Partly they had an opportunity to, just because it was like a CMS connection, so it connected to WordPress to load up data from WordPress without going through WordPress, and then they moved from WordPress to Contentful, which was also a great move. Anyway, so yeah, my experience is limited in terms of like professional experience. I have mentored Rust. I have briefly used it in production, but not with other Rust engineers who can like support me. I just kind of love it as a language. And yeah, the basics are fine. I think once we get to the end of Iris, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because Iris is just like, here are the idioms of the basics of the language, and beyond that, I don't know. This isn't the sort of code that anyone should be looking at. Did I forget? But it's in here. Oh yeah, that's fine. This is all wrong. Into. I've made some. Oh my goodness. If you're interested, by the way, this r-hash thing here is really interesting. So basically, mod itself is a keyword, so you can't name something mod. But if you really need to, you can do r-hash, which makes it a raw token, raw literal, I think, which I don't cover this specifically, but there is a bit of talk about things like literals in the macros bit of the book. Interviews. Okay, we're getting there. I keep getting myself distracted. This is what happens when I'm tired, I think. Interview nav, no. So I'm still missing something. Lib, interviews, pub use interviews. Pub use nav. I bet I just didn't make it public. There we go. That's a Daniel mistake we've seen on the stream a few times. There we go. Okay. Still problems, but we're getting closer. Props is not implemented for interview nav props. I beg to differ. Did I forget to bring in the prelude? I did forget to bring in the prelude. That's just a trait. Oh, well, okay, that is also necessary, but prelude, star. Okay, now we should be good. Yay, okay. So I'm going to get the form done. I think that's what we're going to do. So I think we'll make this a component as well. This might be breaking things down just a little bit too far, but since the interviews thing, we'll have to, actually we can bring that in right now. It's going to be like for interview, in interviews. I think this is fine. Li. We'll just start with this. So it'll be like interview.name. Obviously, we don't have anything in there yet. This will also need to be a link eventually. Technically, this should also be a nav while I'm thinking about it. I am probably being overkill with this as well, because this should be a nav for accessibility purposes. But I don't think you're going to be able to use accessibility tools with this. Not sure. I'm also not doing the greatest job with like the various attributes and stuff that I ought to be using. But at least making a small amount of effort is probably a good thing. So this is going to be our pubfn new interview. Yeah, let's go with form. We probably want this to be... I don't think we need anything here. I think we can probably get away without any of that. We're going to need the store. Use context. Store type. That's just unhappy because I don't have any RSX at the moment. Then I would like two things. So I'm gonna make a okay, we'll look at this. Sorry, it's signal false. Not right. Maybe it's a. There we go. Cool. So I have a component called editable somewhere here. Within this, they basically allow you to either make it, sorry, there's two components, there's like some subcomponents. So we've got editable edit, editable display, and you can flick between these in here. So we've got this is editable signal, and then based on, if I go into editable edit here, you'll see that I have a button for like that cancellation I showed earlier where I like started to edit the name and then I clicked the X. So that just turns the editable to false. So if it's on, you'll be able to edit it. And if it's not on, you'll go to editable display. And within editable display, we have another button which has the little pen and just sets it to true. Basically going to do the exact same thing in here. Oh, here's that importance of using raw literals. The type is a keyword, but it's also a word that we actually need to use with buttons. Buttons have types, and therefore we will require that. Do buttons have types? Gonna sneeze 1 second. Actually, I'm gonna have a drink of water. 1 second. Right. This is going to bug me. MDN button. Button. Do you have a type? Haven't heard of command before. Type, yes. Okay, yeah, submit, reset, and button. Fine. So I also have a funny feeling that submit might actually be the default. Yeah, this is the default. So I actually do need to specify that it is a button, not a submit button. There we go. Okay, reassured myself. So it's going to be very similar in for this. We are going to have like a link that when you click the link itself goes away and is replaced by the form. That's it. So we don't need to get particularly clever here. If editable, let's do is editable. I think that's with signals. You need to call them. There is a get as well. I think like you can just do .get. Don't know whether there's a preference for one or the other. If Evan is still watching, he can let me know. Else. So we will then do a I think probably a href. It's not going to be anything. But we will have an on click, which we will move the signal into. Happy with that because it needs to be mute. I still have my doubts. I don't think that's how we need to do that. Oh no, it might be fine actually. So I was thinking, well, it's going to appear in both branches, but it can only appear in one or the other. It can't appear in both at the same time. So if it's editable, set it to false when clicked. If it's not editable, set it to true. This is going to be our plus interview here. I think I might need a comma there. I can't remember the syntax, and this is probably where I should be either looking at my old code or looking at the documentation, but we'll see how it goes. So in here, we're going to have the form. I'm just going to create the form for now. I'm not actually going to use it. Input name interview name field, value let's always set it to empty. I don't think that actually matters. This isn't where this goes either. Sorry. In this one, we probably want to do a cancel button or something. So can't remember what the actual icon we use is. Also, you shouldn't really use emoji in websites either. This will end up looking different on different platforms. Something to come back to, but I've used emoji all over the place for now. So it says it's built. I've got it here. Let's have a little look. Don't think it's going to work. Yeah, I haven't actually put it in yet. What did I even call it? I called it new interview form. It doesn't contain anything. Yeah, I was having a bit of trust issues there. Expect a closure that takes one argument. I don't care, so I think it's probably fine for it to be that. Oh yeah, even suggests that. Still, oh yeah, because we've done it twice, Daniel. Oops. Okay. Probably need to clear out some of this old data. I haven't currently got a way for you to be able to delete anything. So did I start this wrong? Yes, I've got these the wrong way around. So I think... No, I can't because it's in a DSL. I was hoping I'd just be able to switch them over, but... It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's literally, I think, just that this is backwards, and this should be up in here. Oh, thanks, Vincent. Thanks for joining. It's always good to see people coming back again and like having nice comments and things, nice things to say. I don't think I'll be going very much longer, so there won't be much. If you do need to catch up later, then there won't be much on else to see. Interview details. There we go. So now if I click it, I mean, obviously it won't do anything, but I need a way of submitting that form. We'll just do this for... Yeah. Oops. Something's gone. I think maybe I have to do a full rebuild. I think there's something with Dioxus where it can do rebuilds if it's aware of the file structure beforehand, but if you start changing the file structure, it doesn't like to do rebuilds of new things, which is fine, just something to be aware of. There we go. So the final thing I need to do is basically when someone enters something in here, new interview, just want to make it so that when you click that, it does something. That's not doing anything. Maybe it doesn't right now. So anyway, I shall need an on submit. I've got a ton of them all over the place. Let's just go find one. Probably like this. It's going to be super unhappy. I'm going to try and bring it in without... What happened there? Is it Command-Shift-V? Yeah, it's fine. I want to bring it in without it trying to load everything from the other place. So create interview, form data, role. We will need the role. New interview form. That's fine. That's fine. Let context equal, use context. We decided it was a signal, application context. So I will get the role from where inside. Inside's probably fine. I mean, maybe I don't need to put this here at all. Let role equal context. No, I don't want to do this. So the entire reason I've been trying to avoid using context inside of things is because sometimes it has to be there. And if I'm like going down inside of the sort of the DOM, down the DOM, for example, right here, interview, nav interviews. So if I go to find usage, here, well, we've got interview nav. At this point, we have the role. We ought to pass it down from this point. Now that's, sorry, here's something interesting, because actually all of this should probably be in this bit should be in the nav. We don't use the roles anywhere else. So maybe I just take this out, go into here, make this a role, arc role, and then bring this back over here. And then it won't matter because we already have interviews here. So now what I'm interested in is that I need the role in this one as well. It's an arc role. And now I don't need the context because this form can't be rendered without the role being there. Whereas if I try to get it from the context, there's no guarantee that it exists within the context. It's possible to have the context without the role. So that's fine. Then we want to do none of this. We want to call this form data name, form data. Oh, actually, sorry, no, that's create value from role. Yeah, okay, so we want to do create interview. Create value from form data, create interview. This is going to take the role here. We'll need to create this. So fn create interview from form data, role, arc role, form data. It's going to be a reference to form data. It's going to return an option of an interview. And in here, we will do let name equal form data name, form data. So that will just pass that on down. So now we've got an option of a string, and then we just do name dot map. Yes. So we've got the string name. So then it's role dot create interview name, and that's it. That's not a bad function. I think that's quite nice. Error message. We don't have any of this stuff at the moment. Let's go and get it rather than ignoring it like I have been doing all over the place. And I'll leave it as a signal. And then we're also going to need the handle error as well. This module has gotten a little bit out of hand, I admit. Let's put it down here. What? I'm definitely pushing the wrong buttons. One of these will do. No role, no interview. Interview already exists. Database error has occurred. Value resource is not what we care about. I don't think we actually care about any of this. I just have a really strong feeling that this doesn't matter. What we do care about though is editable sets false. So we get rid of the form again afterwards. Okay. So if we're super lucky, If we're super lucky, this will work and then I can go to bed. Consider giving it a type. Yeah, that makes sense because I haven't told it what interview is. That's fine, we'll do it this way. Ooh, I've genuinely no idea if this is going to work or not. Submitting doesn't work because I didn't actually pass in the create interview to the form. On submit. I think I need event and event. It may actually be possible to just skip this altogether. Let's do, I think we can get away with this, right? Comma maybe. Getting there, I think. Oops. Okay, fine. I might go and just check how I'm doing it elsewhere. This shouldn't really be necessary because it doesn't change the type of function. I think I've probably just made a mistake elsewhere. Let's just go check value list again. The problem being that value list probably uses an edit. Oh no, hang on, here we go. On submit, create value. Oh, yeah. No, so that's right. So there's something I've done because it's complaining about. What are we complaining about? Expected closure that implements the fn mute trait, but this closure only implements fn once. So it's basically telling us that the where is it specifically this? Nope. So there's different kinds of functions in Rust. This needs to be fn mute because it might be called more than once. However, the problem that we're facing is basic. Oh, hang on a minute. I know. Let's solve this. It's literally just going to be let roll equal roll.clone here, and then I don't need to clone it further down. Again, Arc clones are pretty cheap. They're not as cheap as RC clones, but they're still very cheap. That has loaded. Yep. For some reason gone all the way to the far end of my desk. There we go. So I don't know if submit is going to work. I just have my doubts. Interview A. Click. Okay. Okay. It did work. So we maybe do need to, because we're not, okay, so we're not restarting the role because, sorry, the resource, because the resource hasn't changed. So what we can do is bring this in here as well. Which I'm pretty sure I do elsewhere. Create value. I need to find the, oh yeah, that'll do, that'll do. Okay, so we will do a let's restart. Actually, I can do this underneath here, I think. And let's restart. Let's do, sorry, reload interviews. So what I need is for that resource to be reloaded at some point. I can use basically this To do that, into view resource.restart. And then that will basically cause everything here to update. I think this needs to be mute now. Cool. We can then basically bring in call back up here, restart, reload, interviews is a callback. Callbacks don't have generic types. They just, I don't actually know how they determine their things that are being put into them. We need to do reload interviews. Takes 0. Oh yeah, this always takes a argument. That's fine. We can use the Macaulay unit type. Reload interviews. The weird thing being that we have to put the unit type inside of the call itself as well. Do that there. I think that reloaded. Okay, let's bring it back over. Here, add interview B, and if this works, I'm calling it an evening. Go on, tick. There we go. Okay. So that's not bad. I think this stream, we've managed to get our questions working up here. You can edit the things. I mean, obviously it looks garbage at the moment. I am fully aware. I might even do like an add question thing, like we've got like the add interview here. These will eventually be links that will link to the interview details, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I think we have reached a good point. I probably do want to make these forms editable, maybe, or I might put the interview name somewhere in the form, like the larger form down here, and do that. Anyway, I think that's it. I think I'm in a good place with that now. What I might do is just merge the commits here. I'm going to, off stream, I'm going to go through these, make sure they're okay. I then might try and merge that commit that's sort of like I made a mess of by adding in more things than just the values, or maybe I'll just go back and fix the actual Git history so that it's like multiple things. I could branch off of this branch, go back to the other branch, and then like go back a few commits, force push on top, and then I've still got the history and it should be fine. Might do that instead. That's probably more sensible. Other than that, yeah, I think we're in a good place. I'm not sure what I want to do next stream yet. There is still the I need to style things up, but as mentioned, I am not a designer. Maybe I'll twist 891's arm. I'm not sure if he's still on, but and what else? Then there's the keyboard input. I will probably just try and get this form done off stream. I think we've done enough forms and stuff now. But we're pretty close. I could release this in a few weeks, maybe. I do need to work out how to package things up. There is in here, there is workflows thing. So there's a continuous deployment workflow that in theory packages it up for Windows, but I don't think I quite understand the release process on GitHub Actions. This uploads the artifact somewhere. I don't know how to get it back again. I need to make sure that the artifacts work on Windows and Mac, and also need to work out how to get it working on Linux. This one scares me a little bit. I might request some help with this one. But yeah, so that's probably the three things left to go. The big three things are finish the styling, get the keyboard interaction working, and then get it packaged and released of probably the three remaining things. So I'll work out which of those things to do on the next stream. But thank you everyone for joining me on this sort of rambly, directionless meander through things. I'm glad that we've got sort of reactivity reasonably worked out at this point. So we know that when a value that is being read is changed, then it will update so long as the partial equivalence has actually changed. And we also have got it so that when we're loading up stuff from a database, we can just ask it to reload it. So I think we have reasonably got there on those two things. So I'm quite happy with that. Thank you again. I will leave you with the names of my Patreons again. But yeah, hope to see you next week. Chat to you all later. Bye.